everyone. It's Elaine here.
And Shannon.
You are here with Neon Owl. We are here with our good friends, Rico and Michelle, known as Years of War, also previously known as Rico and Miella. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great. Thanks for coming.
Welcome to our home.
Awesome. We are at the house. We are at the house right now in Brooklyn, New York.
Yeah.
So we definitely want to dive into your journey a little bit. You guys obviously just premiered at Bass Cannon, which was epic. So tell us more about how that went.
Ooh, that was so much fun, right? That was our first, I think, actual land-based festival that we played.
Attended. That was our first actual festival on land other than Groove Cruise.
Well, I mean,
that's on a ship.
We've been to Ultra. We were at Ultra before.
Yes, but this was okay. I just think it was a very different experience, flying across the country, being in, you're in the mountains. At Ultra, you're in kind of like a city. So it is a city. All right, please turn over.
No. It was an amazing time. The acts were awesome. The stages were insane. Obviously, the views there are ridiculous. It was really special. Actually, got to hang out with you.
I know. I was so glad. I was so glad I was there to witness it. It was so much fun seeing you guys do that.
Can we talk about that, actually?
Yeah, okay. Sure. We'll talk about that whole experience at first.
I think I was texting Shannon about, probably makeup or something.
Yes,
or
you were asking me about what outfits and what to wear.
I was how do I prepare? You're a festival goer, and I was like, what do I need to bring or be prepared for it? I was like, I wish you could come. And then I was like, wait a second.
You can.
I think you can come, actually.
I think you can come.
And I was like, you should come. And then she was like, wait. Ken said, yeah, I'm going to come. He's going to watch the kids.
I'm going to come.
And I
have never just sent it to a festival like that ever because it's a lot of moving parts for me.
We were supposed to send her to Interstellar.
Yeah, which ended up getting canceled.
That was crazy though, because the way the stars aligned for all of that to happen.
Yeah, that weekend was
really
amazing.
Crazy.
I'm so glad that happened and worked out. I'm so glad I was there to witness you guys premiere Years of War at a festival and then attend a festival with you guys the next day. It was so much fun.
Which was fun. We dragged you to some things that I think you wouldn't.
But I had a blast. It was a whole new experience. It was so much fun.
Yeah, it was a really cool festival. I mean, honestly, for me, getting to see Space Laces was my big.
That was my favorite on Saturday.
That was really fun.
He was awesome. So that was a lot of fun. And just getting to meet a lot of people. We got to meet Cyclops. That was fun.
Yeah.
He was a good time. So yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, and we hung out with Trivecta and our manager Mo the whole weekend, and honestly, just all of us being together was just such a fun experience to do all that, and just not only did we get to perform, but also that we got to enjoy the whole next day, which was really nice.
Yeah.
So quick plug and shout out to Groove Cruise, obviously, because that's how we all
met.
So shout out Groove Cruise.
Actually, the first time we ever met was you were interviewing us.
Yeah.
Here we are.
And that's how we met.
Here we
and
are.
then after the interview, I was like, what are you guys doing? You want to come hang out with us?
And
then you're like, yes. So then now we're all just really
the
great
rest
friends.
is history.
Groove Cruise creates friendship.
Yeah, bringing people together.
Speaking of that, we met you as Rico and Miella, and now you're Years of War. So we've been able to see the transition, but can you talk more about how you arrived at deciding to close that chapter on Rico and Miella and enter this new one as Years of War? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I think it's something that's taken us a long time to understand and get ourselves to this place. But it really started because after being Rico and Miella for about 10 years and putting out music, and we got to share a lot of success together, something started to happen where it felt like we were not making the kind of music that we had loved anymore. And part of the reason why is the music industry has this way of pulling you in directions that you as an artist may not want to go. And, some artists are braver and stronger. And, when you're younger, like we were at that time, we started taking a lot of advice from people about the kinds of music we should be making, the kinds of decisions we should be making, shows we should be playing. And though there was a lot of great that came from that, at some point it stopped bringing happiness to us.
Felt lost.
Yeah, we felt like we were losing ourselves and we weren't making the kind of art we wanted to make, especially for me. I care so much about lyrics and having this like mood and image. And so often, especially early on, we were just getting told all the time, like, you need to stop writing darker, you need to start writing this way.
Also, like, your artist integrity, I feel like when people give you advice, it's something that everyone always says not to lose. Like, just stick to like who you are, do what you want, do what you love. But then when you're in it and people are like, you should try writing something like this, try something like this. And then before you know it, you like lost yourself in the mix and you kind of question like, why did I love doing music so much back then? And why does it feel this way now? So that was a huge thing of why I think we needed a refresh.
We, at a certain point, started to kind of feel like, you know, there were wanting to write things that we want to write again. And it felt like the brand of Rico and Miella, who we were, just wasn't going to be able to sustain that. It's going to feel like this like really weird left turn. And we also wanted to kind of say like, you know what? We don't care anymore about like the rat race. This for us now is like our own personal passion project. And we want to just make music that makes us happy. We're going to put it on the internet. But like at the same time, I am over this like trying to chase trends. I'm over trying to like get songs signed here or there. And instead, you know what? I just want to make the art that makes us happy. So Years of War for us is about like this like battle we've been fighting with ourselves ultimately for a long time. And now just being like, this is who we are as artists. And I think like instantly on the first song you can hear, there's just more of us. Way back, more of us. No like chasing pop dreams, you know.
For sure. I was going to ask how you arrived at the name Years of War, but you kind of already explained that. So how?
Idea first, though.
His idea.
We had a lot of names that we were playing with.
What were some of the other ones? What were some of the other ones? What were some of the other names?
Wait, we had a list of like 30 names. And honestly, like this one, the second we like read it together, we were like, ooh, that kind of feels like it rings true to like what this next project is going to be. And it felt right. But do you remember some of the other ones?
I mean, there was a
I
name
don't even know if I want to share.
Yeah. Maybe we'll keep those for another time.
Maybe we'll regret it again.
It was kind of funny because it was like none of them like felt 100% right until we said that one. And then we're like, oh, this is definitely it. And it just like, it represents us. It feels like on brand, especially with the songs that are going to be coming out, the things we've been working on. So it was easy. I don't know.
Yeah. From a branding perspective, I can see the difference too, because that's my actual degree and background is like creative graphic design stuff. And Rico and Miella was this little scripty font, and you have this very bold, edgier look for Years of War.
It's funny, Rico and Miella at the time, like I said, which was about 10 years ago, it seemed like appropriate that we were making like house music and you were two names and it like felt on point and it all worked.
And then we were like a guy-girl duo, and I feel like when we first got into EDM, like that was a little bit more popular too.
No, it wasn't. It was like a duo was popular, but like we were sort of the only
duo
ones
in general.
that
Like
were
there were
guy-girl.
so many duos, especially like when we were doing, you know, progressive house stuff, you know, especially being like hired as singers or doing collabs with people. I feel like we were in like a little niche, and then we just started breaking away from that brand slowly but surely. But then I feel like that also is why we started to feel like the brand itself kind of got too broad, and then it was like, well, who are we? Like what music should we stick to, basically?
Right.
So can you describe what your new sound is like moving towards compared to where you were?
Okay. So I think it's easy to start where like we were. So I feel like we were kind of going into this avenue of like our version of EDM pop music. So it's never like we fully were like, we're making the popular sound, but it was always like the lyrics were a bit more poppy, like a little bit more like mainstream mixed with like this, you know, crossover-y, not four on the floor thing. I don't even know what we'd call it because it wasn't really very much like a lot of other people's stuff. And like we did find some joy in like being glitchy and weird with that. But this newer sound is, I think, a bit more us, which I would describe as like darker and heavier and, you know, a bit production forward where I'm trying to do cool things at the same time as still making the songs a bit simple in a sense. So that way we have room to put more complicated lyrics.
Okay. Right. So we talked about Bass Canyon, which was your first, festival performance premiere of yourselves as Years of War. But what are your next shows coming up? Anything coming up soon?
We're going to Vegas.
Hey.
Again.
Look at Michelle's face. She's like, I'm going to Vegas, baby.
Well, also, I'm very excited because, like we were saying before, Groove Cruise really brought so many people together. So it's also a Groove Cruise event, which a lot of our friends are going to be there. So I feel like having music with friends and people that you don't get to see all the time, it just makes those events so much more special. And the night before, we're going to be in Denver with Amity, who's also a very good friend of ours. Groove Cruise fam. So we're going to be going to Denver, having a great time the night before, then going to Vegas, and then coming home. So it's going to be really fun.
Yeah. All right. What about any new music? You got stuff you're working on? What can we expect next?
So the new one is done. The next one, I should say. There's a lot of new ones. The next one is done. I would say within the next month, we should be dropping that. I'm really excited for it. It's actually the one that I think is like the most on point for what the sound that I want. So I'm really excited for this one.
I think that actually the next song, was that one of the first productions that you started the new brand with?
I would say so. It's definitely was one of the earlier ones. And
yeah.
I think that there's just something that I really love about this one, maybe because of that.
And I think you really also just from being somebody that lives in the same house as you, watching Rico start something, I'll just hear a boof, and then that's it, or ding, a sound, and then a week later, or not even, literally sometimes 24 hours later, I'm like, you just made that
from that
today from that one sound? And he's like, yeah. And it's just so amazing to me because I'm not a producer. I know how songs start. You can just start off with one sentence and build from there. But watching somebody produce from the very nothing and just creating something so incredible, it's really great to watch. But that song, all right, I'll wrap it up. That song, I'm really proud of that one.
Well,
I think
it's interesting to me to watch the dynamic with you two because my husband is a producer, but I'm not doing any of this with him, so I can just appreciate it. But you're part of a duo. So how do you feel like being married affects your relationship, or is there any crossover, or is how you are as a married couple? Is it a direct translation into how you are as a duo, business-wise, or is it completely different the way you play off of each other as a duo versus a couple?
I think that it's no. I think
it's changed over the years.
It's changed.
We've been working together for so long, and
Before
we were also friends for a long time. Which you guys already kind of know our story. We were friends for a really long time. And then it grew into something more. Yeah,
I think that it's weird. I was talking to another artist, and I think that if you know me personally, how I am as an artist is very different than how I am on every other avenue of my life, which is I am very controlling, I think, as an artist, and I'm not in any other way. Right? Wouldn't you agree with that? It's very much so I think the dynamic of our relationship is always me being for personal life is oh, whatever you think, a lot of times, right?
Yeah.
But when it comes to music, I'm
you're more assertive as a musician.
Yeah.
So
totally
for
different.
instance, if there's a lyric and I'm supposed to say of this something, and I say something something or and something something, I'll change a word as little as that, and I'll record the whole thing.
What are you doing?
And he'll be like, did you really say that? In every single take? And I'm like, what? You what? And then we have to redo everything. But those little things matter so much.
In other ways in your relationship.
In our relationship?
Not like that.
Not at all.
But when it comes to the music.
Yes.
Okay. That makes sense.
And also lyric writing, you're an extremely strong lyricist. I could pop out melodies all day, and when it comes to lyrics, I'll have an idea and I'll write something, but then you take it into this story where
I get a little bit lost sometimes in minuscule things. So then if it's an art thing that's representing us, I could be extremely
but I'm always that line is good, it works, and I'm no, it needs to be better, and then I'm well, I'm done, you finish the song. And then we fight, and then we're okay, so now Years of War, since we're talking about it, Rico has really taken full control over this next project. Obviously, I'm a singer and all the stuff, but and I've helped write some of the things, but primarily this is like Rico's, something that he really wanted and really needed in music, to just completely take artistic control and do everything the way that you wanted to do it, right?
Yeah, I think obviously you're a very important part of it. Like, underselling yourself.
She only elevates everything. No big deal.
No, but like primarily I was like, you just take the lead and I will follow, and let's just see where this goes.
Yeah, I think like when we were younger, like the dynamic was a lot more too. Like, yeah, we
didn't live together either.
No,
I would show up to the studio to work, and now we're like making coffee and we're like,
yeah. Well, and we would like put a lot more into it together. And then I think like as we've gone on, actually, yeah, a lot of times things are happening solo-wise on either end, which is interesting and weird. But I mean, we have like the rest of our entire lives together. So sometimes like you need your artistic endeavor then to be like your outlet. So it's definitely different now for sure.
Right. And I also think like the best part about, I mean, when people look at it, it's like, oh, are you dating just because you work together, or are you the other way around? Do you work together because you're dating? I don't know, whatever. I think like the way our friendship and then business partnership and then like love life started, it's so nice to actually be doing this together, because when we're traveling, like we're traveling together, and there's a lot of people that don't have the ability to do that with their partners. And we're so lucky for that.
Yeah, I feel like
even
we get
though
to
like we're cranky sometimes
together. I mean, yeah.
I was going to ask, do you guys get on each other's nerves, and how do you separate that? You're, like working together, writing together, making music together, being happily married together, living under the same roof with honey together. How does that all work out? And do you guys ever need a break or that separation?
I think there's like
you better know how to answer.
No, I'm just
it's all
kidding.
good. It's all
I just like tease him like that all the time. I think go ahead. You can say.
Yeah, no, I think like just like any couple, like we're a real couple, like you bicker and you have things, and like that can very easily, and you can't see behind the camera, but the kitchen's there and the studio's in the same room. So normally I'd be like, you don't want to take it into the studio, but like literally it's
there's nowhere to go.
There's nowhere to go. So yeah, and like it could happen, like any people who are creative partners, if you're comfortable enough with each other, you're gonna like have disagreements, and like you can't just like pretend that they're not there. And I think we handle ourselves mostly well, but like sure, like do we disagree in the studio and does it mess up dinner? Sure. It's like,
No, we're like fighting over something in the studio, and then we're like, do you want to go out for dinner later? Sure. Do you want, I'll buy you some beer if you want. But honestly, like throughout the years, we've actually changed our writing dynamic, because, we've grown together, but also grown as like musically, like we've kind of changed the way we do things. And I think we just understand each other more. And I'm like, okay, you're in the middle of this line. I'm not really clicking with it. I'm going to go and just close the door and give you space. And then he'll be like, I nailed it. And then I'm like, great, tell me what to sing. And then that is just how it works.
Yeah, I think we've like learned each other's strengths. So then we now are able to less want to bicker about things, because it's like we just know what we do the best now. And I think like the new music is like very, like it shows that, because when I hear these new songs and I think about how they came about, it's just been very natural process, and it doesn't feel like this battle that was happening in Rico and Miella all the time.
Yeah, like you, like a couple of songs, you're like, I can't figure out this line, and then I say like one thing, and he's like, yep, that's it. And like sometimes it just takes that. But also and this is the last part I'll say, when you're in a relationship for as long as we've known each other, being friends, which you can relate, being friends with somebody and then dating somebody, I think we're really good at giving each other space when we need it. And we're also comfortable enough with each other where I'm just like, I'm going to go do my thing today. I'm going to go for a ride, like a bike ride, and go to the gym and to do Shannon's program.
Good terrain.
But like, we each have our own separate things that we do that we can give each other space and not feel like that's like an insecurity thing anymore. You have to be comfortable enough to do that. Yeah, that's a whole nother.
Well, that was kind of a question I had. That was like, do you feel like having that, moving into the next phase of your relationship, being married versus being boyfriend, friends, then boyfriend and girlfriend, then engaged, and then married. Do you think that had anything to do with maybe your ability to want to take that risk from moving from Rico and Miella to Years of War, because your relationship also transitioned to a different level where you were secure? And like you said, you have the rest of your lives together. Mm-hmm. So you were able to take the leap to do something as scary as rebranding yourselves and doing something you really want to do. Do you think that had any effect, or it would have maybe happened either way, whether you had gotten married or not, because you would have been together longer?
I think that's a good question. I hadn't framed it in my brain that way, but I think that you're asking, I think that where we are in our lives right now and being married probably made us question a bit more about what we were doing
and
musically.
What we really want at this point. We're not like young 20-somethings anymore. Like, we are a little older. I don't need to say
just a little, not a lot. Michelle's young at heart.
Yeah, I'm just a little bit older now, but also like you start to reevaluate. Like, we've been, busting our asses, and we're like kind of in a maturity level where we're kind of like, all right, let's ask ourselves, like, what are we really doing with this career? Like, we've gotten this far, we've had this much things happen, where this many things happen, and
yeah, and I think
it's like a different life question that you start to
you start asking yourself, like, once you get married, like, what's next? Then for us, like, it really started leading us to asking all of these kind of questions, what we want professionally. And all of the things that we were experiencing as Rico and Miella and trying to do were things that we really don't like, right? Not that we hate all of the music we were making, because we don't. We love that music and it's important to us, especially the things that were released. But as we get older, it's like, well, if we're not going to be professionally making all of our living from doing this, right? Shouldn't we at least do things that make us fully happy as artists then? And I think that being in a stable relationship, being married, gives you that space to then say, yeah, I think we know what we want personally in our lives. So let's just go there professionally now, and take what we want in that realm. So yeah, I would say it definitely wasn't something that was actively in the forefront of our brain, but
we're married now, let's go ahead and do this. But it's that extra layer of security that you're in it together.
Yeah.
So it made it.
But yeah, like I was saying before too, I just think the period of this life, I was gonna say section of my life, but no, this space that we're in with our our age, getting married, we just moved to New York. There's a lot of things that are going on, and the music is it's a huge part of our life. It's a huge part of our relationship, and as individuals, it's the only thing that him and I have ever wanted to do before we even got together. So now that you're getting older, you just start to ask yourself these questions of okay, how do we keep this in our lives? We know that this isn't going to be, like you said, our, sole income, but how can we keep it alive so we always have it to be there? Because without it, I don't know how we could, I don't know.
Well, yeah, I just don't think there's
sad life.
It's just a part of who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think that there's longevity in the rat race, part of chasing the sound of the week. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
It wouldn't keep me happy, and it wouldn't keep me wanting to do this. And doing what we're doing right now, I'm the most proud of the music. It makes me the most excited to sit down and create more, And so, yeah, what she's saying is this gives us that propeller forward.
Yeah. You guys have obviously been doing this for a while. What would you say has been the most challenging piece of just A, being artists, and B, being a duo?
Okay. Being artists, I think for me, the hardest part is battling. The thing that was the problem for Rico and Miella was artist integrity, and having people who, and I don't think I even did a good enough job explaining before, who are just much smarter than you, who know the music business, who've been more successful, telling you to change. I can't really describe how, as a 20-something, you can be proud and really believe in yourself. And there was times where I really was no, I think I'm right. To be okay, well, they're right. They're more successful, or they have the keys to that door that we want to get through. And you just are okay, yeah, what do I know? And it's not so much Michelle and I are I hate fame. I don't want that. I've never wanted that. It was never about
Speak for
that.
yourself. But as you could tell, we have like a yin to a yang here. Like,
But
put a camera
We know
on
why
you.
you're the vocalist and he's the producer.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, like that is very hard to keep like down this path of staying like who you are as an artist, and it's why I think we got like off track. Like that is really hard, and I think
That was also very heartbreaking for us too, because we had people be like, you guys, because we kind of saw success in a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
Like within the first year of
guys did
us
some crazy
working
stuff.
together.
Mhm.
Yeah, like I mean,
Nicky Romero.
we were opening
like,
for Hardwell
Yeah.
within like the first like 2 years of even being in the EDM industry. Like who else can say that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So then people were like pouncing on us from all over, like, you got to be pop, you got to change your name, you got to change the way you dress, you got to change all this. And we were like, okay, we'll try. But it wasn't genuine. And then we were like, we just
lost
completely got off a track that like we were having success on, and we just took a turn, and the turn was the wrong turn.
Yeah, I
And-
mean personally,
and
it was
it's no
the
one's
turn.
fault. Like it's not, and we're not saying that like, oh, I shouldn't have listened to you. It was more so like when you're young and you see everything happening around you, you're like, I trust these people. I'll do whatever it takes. And then it was just the wrong idea for us. We, you know, who knows
Yeah.
what would have.
And then the second part of your question about like being a duo, I think the hardest part about like working with other people about creative things is like you do have to learn these give and takes. And I think in our case, like there's always been these like, we write very differently. Like we're not the same songwriters in any way. And I think that like what going head to head sometimes, like we just didn't get anywhere, and like it would be frustrating until we like found like the pieces that like go together like the better way. And I think, you know, Michelle's a phenomenal like melody writer, you know, even like in a song like when we were Rico and Miella that we did for Trifecta Open Road, I came with this idea, it's mostly done, and like there was this middle part that I was like done, but then Michelle's like, you should do this, and then instantaneously it was just like a better song.
Yeah.
And it's a perfect song. And it's like, you know, sometimes I don't even sit down and try to like write certain parts of songs now without like at least having this like conversations about melody and stuff. But instead of just trying to be like, well, the lyrics should be this or the lyrics should be that, and sitting there and going back and forth, like that's not our strength.
Lyrically, I write a little bit more like a storyteller, and you are like writing a movie. Do you know what I mean? Where it's like you can literally see the colors when he's writing.
Okay.
So that's why it's very different, and I just can't. It's just not who I am. It's very hard for me, and then I start to get like upset because I'm like, I'm not good enough. I suck. I hate this. I want to quit. And he's like, no, it's just this is what you know. So sorry, our dog's drinking. Honey is chugging water right now. So yeah.
She's been real nice
Yeah.
and quiet the whole time.
I
what?
wanted to just add one more thing to that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Don't you feel like a challenging thing for us, like being singers and songwriters? Rico was always producing in the side and behind the scenes, and it was very hard to kind of get the recognition that you always like strived for too, because people would just be like, nah, you're just either a feature or like your name's just not going to be on it at all. And like I think you and I always just wanted some sort of like credit to be like, hey, that was me.
Yeah.
I wrote that melody that is on your drop. That was mine, you know? So it's like, I think that was really hard for us too. And that's also why we wanted to kind of like pivot, because we wanted to have more of that, you know, name recognition, I guess.
Yeah. And so, out of all the things you guys have done, what do you guys feel the most proud of?
What do you feel the most proud of? It's a good question. Honestly, I think I feel the most proud of not all of the songs, but some of the songs. There's some songs that I'm just like, legitimately, that's the thing that makes me the happiest that I've put into the world. And that, like on a deeper level, makes me happy that that's the thing that makes me happy, because that's what I do. You know what I mean? I don't really care about any of the like success things, because like to me, like they've never really felt like I made it or something. But the music itself is the stuff that I feel the most proud of.
I also, I'm like really proud of just getting to where we've been in the entirety of it, you know, just being on stages and performing. That's my favorite. And some people don't ever have those opportunities, and I'm very aware of that. So I feel really lucky to have had those opportunities.
Yeah. And where would you love to see Years of War go?
I want to play all the festivals.
Well, what kind of festivals? What kind of festivals?
What are you talking about?
Everywhere. I don't care what it is.
Yes.
Yeah, I think like success in the music business has changed so drastically since we started Rico Miella to where we are now that I don't know that I have an answer for like what success as Years of War looks like anymore, but I do know what we want. And I think like we really want to play some good shows. We want to bring live instruments on stage and do that.
But I just want to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Like every artist, I think, wants longevity, but it's not like people always say it's not a race, it's a marathon. And like genuinely, I just want to have the opportunity to always, play a show here, release a new song, and still have a fan base that like cares. And I think that would be like the ultimate dream, you know?
Yeah, connecting with people and just continuing to be able to put out music that means something to someone feels good. So I think like that is like where we see this. This is like a very like earnest and genuine project for us that's like not about any of the like biggest things happening. So it's like that's where I think we would get the most joy and the most like where our target is at.
Yeah. And for your fans that have been with you guys since Rico and Miella days, what do you have to say to them?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for sticking around with us and listening and reaching out to us or getting to meet us at shows. And that's like, it's such a special feeling that I almost sometimes don't even know how to grapple with someone being your fan because it just feels like such an amazing thing. And whenever we meet people, we're just like want to hug them because like, thank you.
They're like if they say something like, oh, like your lyrics like really meant something so much to me, like it literally just like makes you want to cry because it's like so special because you're like, you care about my song.
So,
You're like, thank you so much. I'm so grateful.
No, I'm like, can I take a picture with you?
Well, it's such a personal part of yourself as an artist to put that thing that you created out into the world and to have somebody connect with that on the level of a fan and telling you that it meant something to them. Like, that's a lot. That's intense. That's an intense feeling. So I can imagine
it's
wanting to hug them and cry.
And all of our songs too, like a lot of the lyrics that we're pulling from are from like, experiences that we've had. So when you meet someone and they're like, oh my God, this song, like it just like came out at the right time where I was going through a really hard part of my life. And that song just gave me, everything. So that is also so nice to hear because you're like, damn, like what music does for me, it also does for the listener,
Amazing. So then to wrap up, what's something you are very grateful for and excited about right now?
Okay, so I'm very grateful for the team and the people that we have around us. Without them, I don't think that we could have ever had levels of success that we've had. So thank you to everybody who who you are, including you guys are amazing too.
But also everyone
You can't get rid of us.
Throughout like the journey. I mean, we've been in this business for 10 years and we've had multiple different teams and every team has done something amazing for us along the way. And
so
we're really lucky for that.
And I'd say I'm really excited to just get this new music out to you. It's probably the most personal music and it means the most to me and I don't want to like bottle it up. I want to get it out there. And it's definitely the most like introspective and honest because as we get older, right, like I'm married, like we don't need to write about heartbreak songs anymore. We want to write about what we want to write about. And
then if you are writing about heartache, I'm like opening the door. I'm like, what did you just say? So being grateful, I think we can agree. Like we're being surrounded by such amazing people in the industry in general and also fan bases. But also I'm really excited mostly like to just see our new project out in the world and have, someone to just like look into it and then hear like our backstory about it. I think that's like the most exciting part because it's not just a rebrand with new music. Like there's so much more about our story, which you guys just got. So, yeah. And then also Groove Cruise, baby.
Yeah,
Can't wait.
Whenever the last one ends, we're like, when's the next one?
I'm such a fangirl.
Highlight
It's
of
like
the year.
ridiculous.
Shout out Jason and Skeeter, mainly on the team.
No, they know.
Plug.
Oh, yeah. So I'm excited for everything and our next release, and hopefully, some labels will catch on to the next few singles that we have that are already ready to go. That would be really awesome to just find a home for those new songs. Wink, wink.
Wink, 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 wink. Well, I mean, thank you so much. Like, I really appreciate you both. You both have always been so genuine and honestly so talented. I know we've had you guys on Neon Owl's open door sessions, and it's some of the best feedback we get, whether that's the production, the demo listening, or just the honesty that you guys share and bring to the table. So we can't wait to see your success.
Thank
you.
Thanks for coming over.
Yay!
Love you guys.
Let it wash away, no, I won't be saved. I know I'm too far gone.